All right, we're live now. All right, we're gonna start. We're gonna take some time getting in. If you're watching on replay, you're watching all of this, so we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna wait for some people to get in here. This is gonna be, I think, a great topic. I'm really excited about this. My guest today is Jacob Shelton, and we were just chit chatting beforehand. And this is going to be really, really exciting because there's many topics to discuss. But really, the focus of today are we got a little craziness going in the world there, Jacob. So what are the best golden visa options for our Americans? We're going to cover that today. But first, I just want to introduce you, tell people about you and where you are in the firm, why you're there, and how you got there.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks for having me on, Anthony. Yeah, I am a financial advisor by trade. I was a financial advisor for over a decade in the U.S., mostly in Portland, Oregon, working for Morgan Stanley and then J.P. Morgan. And here a few years ago, I switched to Holborn Assets, which focuses more on the global scale of things for expats. And so, I saw my picture cut out, but looks like I'm back now. And so what I do is I help U.S. expats make them move to the EU, or it has turned into, with some of the maybe political turmoil and things we're seeing, is just a lot of feedback of looking more at golden visas. I mean, that's certainly a huge topic. I know it's what we're covering today, but we're just getting more and more requests, and there's so much misinformation out there, and clarity about what it really means and what it looks like, who qualifies, timeline, the whole bit. So looking forward to getting into it today with you.
So this is fantastic because we have a lot of expats, U.S. expats as clients and as fans, and we appreciate all your support you guys give us to keep going. And unfortunately for me, and luckily now, it was always hard for me to help to get them financial planners when they're overseas. A lot of financial planners don't even want U.S. expats. Can you believe that? That's how awful it is. And it's this weird thing, I think, that, people think about living overseas and it gets very romantic. Then there's a reality of it. And it can be, very romantic, but that's why we like to talk to people who actually deal in reality like you. We deal in the reality of the tax situation and finding the nuance. And it's this bizarre thing, that this is where I've come up last week that when it comes to your U.S. citizenship, it's that this is what I think for your tax moves. Okay. Your best tax move is either renouncing your U.S. citizenship or 2, becoming a U.S. citizen. That's kind of the bizarreness of this strange thing. And that's what I think, Jacob, it's like, it's all a facts and circumstances. Like the right answer for you, it's going to be different. So we have there's great golden visas out right now. And we want to get to them. We want to talk about why there's really the 2 best ones out there and the 2 different types of people. They're 2 different things. So why don't we clear the air? Like, okay, are there golden visas out there that are good? Are there good ones out there? So help us direct us into the landscape.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what you're looking for. There's really the pathway into Europe, which I believe is what the Portuguese golden visa has been thrown around quite a bit. Now, what biggest misconception about the Portuguese golden visa is that it's gone. It was just changed. So it was about, I want to say 3 years ago, the real estate option went away. You used to just be able to buy a property in Portugal, and 5 years later, you're a citizen. You get some tax benefits, the whole bit. It was, now there's a little bit more administrative, bureaucratic process than that, but that's really what it boiled down to. But it's certainly still an option today for really the more of a residency route for an eventual citizenship down the road. And so many people really use that Portuguese golden visa because you have unlimited access to Portugal and really through that most of the EU. And you have so much flexibility, right? You only have to be there a week every year. And then,
okay.
5, more likely 6 years. Yeah, there's really no residency requirement other than you have to be there a week a year. Most people treat it as a nice little vacation. Now there's a little bit more of a language requirement than they originally had, and the super beneficial NHR tax benefits aren't automatically applied anymore, and so there's been some of these changes that have occurred due to some political backlash of property prices rising so quickly in Portugal. But it was the easy residency into the EU, and so I think it demonstrates, right, what a golden visa actually is. It's not necessarily you pay a chunk of money and you get a passport the next day. There's slightly more of a process, and depending which golden visas you're actually looking at, there can be some really big benefits and some potential downsides of golden visas.
Well, I want to get to the other contrast, because I think at this point, you explained to me that we have two really good golden visa options right now, and in a way they're both good, but who they're for, how they work, couldn't be any more different. Tell me about St. Kitts and how that is just sort of totally different, but also could be your other option.
Completely. So I was kind of describing how golden visa might not necessarily be you pay a chunk of money, you get a passport. St. Kitts is a lot closer to that, where it's a 3 to 4 month process. There's even a donation route where you literally pay the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, which is an island in the Caribbean that's under the British Commonwealth, and you pay them a chunk of money, and 3-4 months later you get a passport. Your entire family can be included on that application. It's fairly reasonable. Up through the end of March, it's about $250,000 for the donation portion. There's some government fees along with that as well. Or you can actually just get there's some real estate options through that as well, that you have to hold on to the real estate for 5 years. But you get that passport so quickly. It's really incredible. And it's a British Commonwealth island, so there's a lot of flexibility of what you can do with that St. Kitts passport. And it's a lot of Americans looking for a plan B right now, and that ends up being a very quick, good option for them.
So so now, all right, so both of them. So if we're looking for speed, and by the way, and I think maybe this is sort of the thing about the St. Kitts, that's actually a decent passport, right? I mean, that's not a bad passport.
It is. I think I want to say it's number 26 on the passport index for this year. So it's one of the best ones in the world, and you can get it so easily and quickly.
Oh, what's ranked number 1, by the way?
I want to say it's Singapore, Switzerland. Those have typically been the top 2. You have access to anywhere. It's very easy, and you're kind of a neutral country, so it's not people on the other.
Right, St. Kitts is the and I think Roger Ver, Bitcoin. That's where his citizenship was. Didn't really help him, but that was a different kind of case there. That wasn't necessarily a case about taxes. Actually, it's a little bit different. But it is a strong passport, and I think that's something that and it's very, very useful. I think that was my first my first my first is like, oh, so what? You're just buying some kind of garbage passport. That's kind of the furthest from the truth, really. Really. And now, but St. Kitts is really more about the money. So how much is that going to cost you out the door with everything?
Yeah, so out the door with everything, I think it's sitting right around $300,000 for the donation option.
Okay.
And it's around $390,000 for the real estate option.
Oh, okay. And so then you must be friends with a lot of realtors in St. Kitts then, right?
Yeah, we do have a few specific programs. I mean, you do have to be careful, right? Because there's a lot of programs out there that say that they're aligned with the government and are structured with this program, and so you really have to be, do your due diligence on these programs. We've done that due diligence, right? We do have a team in St. Kitts who does this all day long, and so we only work with a couple of the programs. The Royal St. Kitts is a hotel program out there that you essentially can buy a fractional share to meet those real estate
Oh.
requirements. They have rental portion, and so you actually can make money through the years even as you're holding on to this, and it can really be a true investment.
Oh, wow. So you could invest so a fractional share in your vacation home, along with getting a passport that's the 23rd out of 100 and what 60 or so. I mean, that's not too bad. That's pretty
A
good.
week, a year, to stay there for free.
Basically, yeah. And this is I think where both of these are, and I think that is that most people want. A lot of people are like, yeah, I want to leave. I want to leave America. It's like, okay, well, how much do you want to leave? Well, not that much. America's terrible. I want to get out of here. And then it's like, okay, great. Well, you're going to become a citizen of so and so, and now there's actually, in order to, hey, look, Puerto Rico had that, and kind of has that deal. I never was a huge fan of it just because of the restrictions on that. But there it actually did require you to have 183 days there. No one else but you. You're going to put your butt there. And that just seems like, when people think about freedom and everything, you're like, well, you're trying to sell the whole freedom thing. And the first thing you're doing is you're having them sit in a chair for $183. So this is 183 days. So this is nothing like that, right?
Right. And there are certainly golden visas out there that do have a residency requirement. And I think that that's really where these two programs, differentiate themselves to be able to have, strength of passport and to be this flexibility, but to not need to be a tax resident of those countries and to, that 183-day threshold, right? Over half the year. We see that in the EU all the time.
Yeah.
If Portugal said, hey, to be a part of this golden visa program, you needed to be here over 6 months of the year. Well, it wouldn't be nearly as popular because then you're having to, go and be a Portuguese tax resident as well, as opposed to being in the States and building up your time frame towards this passport.
Yeah, thanks for that. And because we have U.S. a lot of U.S. PACs as clients, and John Peterson, John Richardson, who long-term guest, he's come up with different types of American citizens, and the type of citizen you are will really depend about what you think about the U.S. tax system, and that if you are someone whose financial center of gravity is in the United States of America and you live overseas, you don't see what the problem is. You don't see what the problem is for it's like, why is everyone complaining? This is great. In fact, if I have waged income, some of the foreign earned income exclusion applies to it. I don't know why everyone's making a big deal out of this and why people want to repeal this and that. Contrast that to someone who has the financial center of gravity overseas. That is, they're married to a non-U.S. person. That's a big one. They have they actually have a real functioning business with real employees, real people overseas. Now you're talking about the entire tax full-blown nightmare. You kind of go from, hey, nothing's bad, not a lot of in between, till, oh my goodness, what happened? And so I think that's really the critical part, is like, are you really ready to be subjected to two different campaigns? Because the U.S. is terrible, but the U.S. is only one level of terrible. It gets into a new level of terrible when you're adding some other country's tax system on top of it, where there's credits and that might not, tax credits paid that might not necessarily apply. where there's onerous things, and so it gets into a whole new level. So I can't stress, I guess, myself enough about how great it is to create geez, I guess I'm selling it for you, but to have a great visa where that won't require you. Again, it's not, your win isn't that you escape the U.S. tax system. Your win is you're no longer subject to double taxation. That's really what we're talking about. So.
Well, and it can be that you escape the U.S. tax system, right? It all depends on where that new country is. I mean, I don't know about yourself, Anthony, but I mean, we've had more clients than ever ask for, exit tax calculations here this year. And so,
Really?
and you can't really do that and renounce your passport unless you have another passport. I mean, that's just how it works, right?
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, we've been talking to people for years about renouncing, and it's always things that keep people in. I might have to visit the U.S. And we've explained, hey, look, you have if you have a good, and I think right there, well, actually, if we think about your the golden visa, that essentially, I guess it would be pretty good from Portugal, because you'd be probably flying back into the U.S. on ESTAs, right? I mean, that'd be pretty good. You really wouldn't either passport, if you renounce as a U.S. citizen, really isn't a bad one, right? I mean, to come back in.
No, you're just treated like a citizen of that country. It's fairly simple. I mean, both St. Kitts and Portugal, it's not necessarily needing to go apply for a full-blown visa and get accepted. It's more of a notification system.
Yeah. No, and it's crazy, because it's like, as much as I say, we help people renounce all the time. And last week I had a call with a client who's Danish, and we were going, and this is sort of the craziness of the tax code. We were kind of laying out his tax strategy. He's got a business he's working on. He looks like he's going to do pretty well with them. Like, okay, well, here's your strategy on this. We're gonna, we use the qualified small business stock to exempt $15 million a gain, and his face, as we're explaining how some of these tax strategies work in America, he's just blown away. He goes, like, you got to be kidding me. He goes, this play truly is, and here he is. He's just said it. He goes, this truly is the land of opportunity. He said it. He said it. And I'm laughing because, my next call, right? My next call after that is someone who's trying to escape the talons of the government because it's so abusive. And that's what's so amazing about it, is that really your only solution is going to be one or the other. It's like, oh yeah, no, if, and I think it's for the right kind of person, that, for the right, and it's the right kind of business owner, being an American is absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. And then for a different kind of business owner, and again, I'm not even talking about, I'm just talking about business owners, not being an American is essential. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to see, that citizenship can be so powerful in the realm of business to make your life basically impossible, or one that will just like, oh, here's something else for you. Oh, here's another benefit for you. Here's another benefit for you. And oftentimes, when we talk about exit tax planning, I want to renounce my citizenship. Oh yeah, these taxes are too crazy. Well, we'll like, all right, well, here's your exit. Here's how to lower your exit tax. Here's how to lower your exit tax. So come a strategy for that. Well, if you're going to do that, you no longer need to renounce your citizenship, because we just took care of it. So it's weird how things can work. And I guess so. And so maybe I want to talk about, I am kind of really interested to see some more of the trends you guys have been seeing. That's been coming in. So you're saying renunciation calculations are going up. Very interesting. What else are you seeing?
Yeah, way up. I mean, I would say that, and we talked about this a little bit before the call, but using potentially qualified funds for the ability to invest in these golden visas, right? Of taking, IRA money and putting it into a vehicle like a self-directed IRA LLC, and then using that vehicle to invest in the golden visa, and obviously a lot of variables in that structure, age being one of them, particularly if you're in RMD age, is, how do you pay RMD if all of your assets are locked up into some sort of golden visa time structure?
Okay.
Does it violate potentially rule? for example, right, I just gave you the St. Kitts. If you're at the Royal St. Kitts and using that program, you can stay there for a week a year. If you're using IRA funds
Is
and
that your
staying
home?
at a
Right.
property that you potentially that's probably that probably violates that rule, right? Like as a very simple, easy basis.
Right. Yeah, and I think that there's a great example, and I think
But
that's where we and
yeah.
I think I want to look into this a little bit more. IRAs. A lot of people looking to buy. What do we do? What do you do with your IRA? It's not enough money for you to retire on, but you got to do. It's a good amount for an investment. Whether it's a franchise or maybe the franchise is your own, own escape hatch that includes the investment. But right, I see the problem there. Now I'm going to just go for it because I'm going a little bit further. It's like, yeah, but it's going to be a short-term rental because under a week it's going to be classified as a short-term rental. So my guess is it doesn't count, but that's exactly the kind of thing you need to look at because, 401ks are great, but there's many, many limitations on it. And one of the you cannot own the house you live in. As far as your 401k.
And there's some other potential hiccups that you can make is particularly with the Portuguese golden visa. There's some structures that we actually help and that we've figured out with the government, where normally the amount for the Portuguese golden visa is 500,000 euros.
Okay.
Right. But we can essentially say, okay, just for round numbers, hey, it's 400,000, but instead of getting any investment returns, we're going to take those investment returns and we're going to give you 100,000 up front as your interest. Right. Instead of compounding interest, you get roughly 5% a year. We're going to fund that to you up front. And it's essentially a loan type structure. You can't do that type of lending using any type of IRA, right? I mean, that's also some of those, qualified funds rules that you just can't do. And so, but Portuguese government doesn't track what IRA's funds do and what the rules are and where a lot of these funds are coming from, as long as they have a anti-money laundering trail and they can track that. So it's a potential hiccup that you can get into if you're not careful the way that you're doing these. But it's a good program, right? I mean, it allows you to take a much lower price point on some of those golden visas. And I don't know how many other companies do that, but we are actually I don't know if I told you this, Anthony. Our team is the team that processes the most Portuguese golden visas in the world.
No, what? Really? Well, geez, I guess we got the guys here. Well, I think you are. I think we have a great topic, and I want to look into this more because, I think anytime you're able to unlock a 401k for an investment, it just, it's going to be able to benefit. So I want to look into that more because I think you do have a really good, it's unfortunate that, things get tied up so much and, everyone's investing in the same things and the same thing, like you're all invested in the same company. You understand that, right? Your 401k. And when I look at the Secure Act 2.0, I'm like, boy, was that a law written by BlackRock? I mean, wow. But there's things maybe you want to take advantage of. So go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Jacob.
Well, and Anthony, sorry if I delay a little bit. It's coming through a little delayed. But it's interesting that you mentioned the ability to use these types of structures to make outside investments, because I have so many clients coming to me right now and saying, okay, I want my investments outside of the US. If there's political considerations in that, obviously, but there's also I'm going to be living in a new currency. I have fears for the US dollar and the value there. If my 401k or IRA is my biggest part of my nest egg, I don't want it fully exposed to US dollars.
Yeah.
And so it's actually a structure that we've been looking at a lot, of being able to use those not just for golden visa purposes, but also other investments in other currencies. Um, Again, you have to be pretty careful about how you do that. But there's definitely some really good options out there that are.
All right. Well, I want to cover that next time.
Yeah,
So
and on the tax side, right? I mean,
Yeah. All right. Well, I definitely want to get looking at this next. I want to have you on again, and I definitely want to talk about. I'm learning about it a lot, but I want to just go over the basics. Okay. So 2 best golden visas out right now. We have St. Kitts. We have Portugal. What's the total investment cost in St. Kitts, and also the fees, and also give me the total investment cost of Portugal along with the fees.
So it's the 390,000 is the one person investment cost for St. Kitts. That can vary from case to case slightly, and for every family member that you add on to that investment, there can be some other government fees. But as far as the actual real estate investment that you're making is 325,000. Everything on top of that is fees.
Okay. So 390, and
And
then
that's on the donation side, right? That's 250.
So 300 all in.
And then it's roughly 315
Okay.
all in on the donation side through the end of March. At the end of March, there's going to be some sort of price change. We don't know what that's going to look like quite yet, but we expect it to be another 20, 30,000 more expensive. It's really became the most competitive program in the Caribbean. And so, as their prestige gets a little bit higher, they're able to price it a little bit higher as well.
Got it. And then Portugal, and again, in the time for St. Kitts is, we're talking 3 to 4 months. Yeah. So yeah, it's this
3 to 4 months. I would say
the blizzard that we're having is causing this lag. I apologize, my friend. It's not Portugal. It's not. It's us. It's here in America. Sorry. So I apologize for the delay.
No worries. My sister-in-law lives in New York. I understand it's getting pretty nasty out there right now. But but as far as Portugal goes, right, it's a longer time frame, right? And we kind of spoke about this beforehand, of it's people who have a little bit more enchantment, fall in love with the EU, and want to be able to stay past the normal 90 out of 180-day rule for US citizens traveling to the EU. Certainly, understandable, but it's a fairly long path, in comparison to 3 to 5 months. But it's a fairly long path to citizenship. Now, one thing to keep in mind on both of those is that it's going to depend on how quickly you're able to start gathering documents. I mean, there's definitely very specific documents that you have to provide part of a citizenship application. I mean, that just makes sense. They don't want just anyone walking through the front door. And there's you're probably more familiar with the apostille process than
we just did a
American
we
citizen
just did a video on
being in your shoes. So it's
that's great.
It can be a little bit of a bear. I know, especially right now, with some limited capability out of the FBI with some of those shutdowns, and so it can take a little bit of time to get some of those back.
All right, but if you're looking, all right, well, we got to go. But I'm gonna the link to people to book with you because it's hard. I mean, right now, this is what you got to understand. There's high competition. Jake was kind enough to give his link to his calendar in the description below, so people can book with you to go over this. Right? I mean, right now, I mean, not too bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's no. So we've been doing great for time. But it is. There's a lot of people wanting to do this right now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably 4 to 5 times the flow that we saw during 2023. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really accelerated.
Oh man, right on. All right. Well, all right. I wanted, and again, I wanted if you are interested in the program, and we're gonna have Jacob on again, and I think we're gonna talk about this really, how to access a 401k to pay for that. That is gonna be interesting. I got some research to do, and I have some of my followers are gonna have some research to do. We'll get back and we'll put that up again. But until then, I really want to thank Time for taking this very stormy, a lot of latencies in the air today with the wind blowing around today. I apologize for everyone. It's a little bit beyond our control. We'll have Jacob on again when where there's not so much blizzards in the air and we don't have the 10-second lag that we've had today that Mother Nature brought us today. So I want to thank you so much, Jacob. Till next time, this is Anthony Parent for IRSMedic. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. See you next time.